Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Desk. Chad and Amy here, and today we're going to be talking about Sadie as a service dog.
How's it going?
Good. So we've got microphones that kind of only hear directly when we're talking into it.
That's good.
So they won't hear Sadie going absolutely nuts on her
In her bone.
right now.
The cow.
But it's like almost vibrating the table. She's just very
It is vibrating
spirited
my feet.
dog today. So let's do a couple of quick updates since last episode. So we know that Sadie is all clear. I think we mentioned that last time.
Yeah,
All
negative
clear.
test result.
She is in her last, at this point, probably 4 to 6 weeks? 4 to 6 weeks of down, Sadie, just chill.
Yeah, probably another 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Probably.
Because as the heartworms die, their, for lack of a better, their skeletons, the remains are still there, and those can still pose a threat if heart rate gets too high. But she is all clear.
Yeah.
So she'll be able to be a free dog very soon here.
Yeah, they die within the first 3 to 4 days after the injections. And then they spend a couple of months after that, like you said, breaking down and
passing that
dissolving into the bloodstream. So she could have a stroke. Any dog could. And then they would have to live with seizures and things for the rest of their life. So we don't want that for Sadie. And she is doing really, really well. Like, oh my God, where is this lively dog coming? She's no longer on sedation. So we are experiencing a different level of.
She's a little demanding sometimes.
Yeah.
But we love her, and we're super happy that, she's
better.
She's not out of the woods yet, but she's almost to the point where she can be a dog again. And speaking of dog, you've got your word of the day, Pero, right?
Pero.
For dog. And that's the topic today. We're going to be talking about Sadie. Sadie is a service animal. So she is there to be of service for you. Mm-hmm. You're her handler.
And trainer.
And we're going to talk about a couple of topics around what that means. Because we're talking about beyond the desk, and we're talking about being able to live a life beyond the 9 to 5 grind, right?
Right.
And frankly, Sadie being a service animal does, she's a service for a reason, right? You have a need. Mm-hmm. But it does come with accommodations that the ADA puts forth for those that have disabilities and need those reasonable accommodations. So we're going to dive into a couple of things as it relates to that. But let's kick off with understanding what a service dog is, certification, and training around that. So first of all, and we're speaking from our experience, our point of view, specifically with Sadie. Everybody's going to have, different situations. So if you have a service animal and traveling is going to be something that you are going to want to do your own research as it relates to you and your circumstances. But we'll talk a little bit about our journey going through certification with Sadie.
Yes.
So Sadie's certification and the process of getting her certified.
Yeah. So I met with a therapist. My understanding is that there's 2 per state. And the lady that I met with is based in Colorado. And she did an evaluation on me to determine if there was a need, if I had a need for a service dog. And there was a need. There is a need. And Sadie is kind of the perfect dog. And this was something I said that I wanted, before we got her, I think. Didn't we talk about this? Or maybe it was just after we got her. I was like, wow, she'd make a perfect service dog.
Just after, when she was going through training. She was going through some intense 2-week training away from us.
Oh, the 10-day immersion.
Yep. So she had an immersion training, and such a night and day difference. It was tough. We had just gotten her. Shortly after, we were like, this dog is going to be our dog. And we wanted to have her. Our goal was for her to be off leash, be an off leash dog, live a dog's life, but still be trained so she responds to us in a safe manner.
Right.
That was the goal. And we spent a lot of money on that. But as we went through that, we also uncovered that she is very special and tight with you. And that bond was created instantly when we picked her up in the very, very
When I
beginning
met her.
when you first met her.
Right.
So yes, we talked about her becoming a service dog several years ago when we first got her.
Yeah, and I had no idea that it would work out as well as it has. It's just been incredible, actually.
Or what it took in order for that to be the
Oh,
case. But
well, yeah.
realistically, when you think about what you were thinking about back then, it's relevant today, but it was probably relevant the whole time.
It's been relevant for many years, I think.
It's just now we're putting the
Right.
pieces together to where it makes sense. So
Yeah.
you met with this woman from Colorado.
Yes, she went over the laws around this, following the ADA guidelines, which I highly suggest that for your purposes, if you're thinking or considering of getting a service dog or have a dog that you believe is a good fit to become a service dog, please do your own research. Look up the ADA guidelines for yourself, because if you are going to travel with this service animal, it's different from an emotional support dog. Those are two very different things. So we're talking about a service dog, either from a psychiatric perspective or from a physical disability. So those are the two headlines you have there that can fall under needing a service dog, not an emotional support dog. So Sadie can go anywhere with us. Essentially, I think there's a public swimming pool and there's one other one that she can't do. Other than that,
she's not there to be a cuddle buddy. She's there because she has a certain task that she has to perform for you.
Yes, and you need to know that. So they're allowed people, airports, restaurants, anybody outside of that. They are allowed to ask you two questions. One is this your service animal? Yes or no. And the other one is, what is their task? You need to know that task verbatim. And the therapist that you see who is able to certify your dog or send you the letter that says this is your service dog, you have to repeat that verbatim. So you either memorize it or you keep it on your phone where you can read it directly. Nobody is allowed to ask you about your disability ever. Nobody is allowed to ask you for your papers ever, nor for a psych service dog. Does your dog need to go through any kind of, I wouldn't say training, but they don't have to graduate from a class. Right, you are allowed to have your own dog trained.
The human diagnosis is the certification, as opposed to turn left, turn right, sit, whatever, as the certification.
Yes.
Yes.
But in saying that, for Sadie to go on a train, go on a plane, wherever, she has to be good, meaning she can't be barking, growling, any of that stuff. So highly suggest that you do your own research around this. We are doing what we know is good and right for Sadie and for us, and to be able to go to Colombia to where Sadie can be able to go with us and travel, and making sure that she is able to show up for my need as well.
Right. Exactly. And when it comes to training, we actually before this sat down and went through our laundry list of things that we have to prepare for, just the two of us before this long-term trip. But also now adding to that is the list of Sadie's training regimen, what that's going to look like in order to ensure that this is a well-executed travel.
Yes.
Here's the thing. Sadie's chill and she is attached to you. You are her human. And she's not very vocal except when she's announcing somebody in the house. Or if she feels like she deserves something,
or she
will let us know.
Us.
Or she's upset. Aside from that, though, like compared to most dogs, she's not a barker. She's not super vocal.
No.
And all of her vocals are either sassy or happy.
Mm-hmm.
So we are already on a really good path of having a dog that's going to do really well for this lineup.
And Sadie is also, all of those basic commands she has down pat with no problem. So we are halfway there already.
And as a McNabb, she comes from a bloodline of highly intelligent animals. So I'm not concerned with it, but I think we're both the type of people who want to absolutely ensure. And so we're probably going to go beyond the actual bare minimum.
We always do. Yeah.
But that's a good thing because we don't want we don't want to be those people that cause an issue, but also we don't want to trigger anything unnecessarily, be it a bout of anxiety in the middle of the airport because she's acting up. We want to be prepared in the event, and we want to know how to handle her perfectly. And so as her handler, this is one of those things that kind of falls on you because I can only do so much. I am not the handler.
Right.
That's completely you. So let's talk a little bit about we touched on ADA, but a little bit on the protections and your rights under the Americans with Disabilities Act when it comes to a service animal, specifically Sadie.
Yeah. Sadie pretty much has more rights than I do. She's covered like really, really well.
Even in the military, the dogs are always a rank higher than their handlers.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, so I just encourage people. It's such a long list. I'm not going to go over each and every one of those today, but please look those up for yourself and see, if this could be a really good fit for you or not. If you don't have a disability, you don't need a service dog, right? But if you do, talk to somebody about it and see about getting your dog or a dog that would be a good fit to be a service dog taken care of for you. Sadie is highly beneficial for me. She keeps me calm. She loves on me when I need it. It's just that bringing me down if I start to spiral, not to get into what I've got going on, but she's really good for me.
I think of her as your soft approach to a reset.
Yeah.
That helps you get
she's
back
a reset
to
for me.
So I think that's and she's been that the whole time.
Right.
It wasn't until recently we realized
the
why
potential,
but also why that bond was so strong between the two of you, because she has been of service for you this entire time we've had her.
Yeah, absolutely. So now she will have the ability to have the commands and have more focus with me. So just in 2 days, Sadie is already the whole here. When I say here, her eyes lock with mine, and she actually held it today for a pretty good length of time. And as you mentioned earlier, that lock, that attention right here is key to all of this. So her being able to have a solid focus on me is really important. So just starting there, and we're trying to work out a regimen for how many times a day does she need training? How long does it need to be? And then you also said destination training, which I thought was a pretty cool way to put that, is taking her out of the house.
Field trips, yeah.
Field trips. Where do we want to take Sadie? What do we want to put her in front of? She has to be able to ride on an elevator, which she has already, so we can totally do that. But there's a way to get her on the elevator where she has to stand. We want her tail out of the way. So all of these things are going to be my responsibility to make sure that Sadie is where she's supposed to be. She's placed, she's sitting, eyes on me, tail is out of the way, so that other people, there could be wheelchair coming in there could be a baby stroller, there's luggage, there's all the things with rollers and wheels, and we don't want her tail or feet, getting trampled on when people are trying to come in. There's also riding on a tram or whatever that transit is to get you from one terminal to the next.
Yeah, like the Atlanta airport.
Oh, the Atlanta airport is just something else. It's huge.
And there's a lot of people who have to go from A to F, and so they are in a sprint almost, and they're not going to be fully aware of their surroundings.
Well, you're looking up. You're not necessarily looking down.
Exactly. So protecting her, making sure she stays safe, but also not in anybody's way.
Right. So how many field trips, destination training places can we go to give her as much exposure as possible before we get on that flight? Because really, Chad, we're not going to be able to train her getting on the plane and then getting off. We can't do that so it's going to be everything. Simulate. Exactly. Exactly. So
yeah. Sorry.
Loud noises.
You got more?
Yep. Loud noises, getting through security. That was a big one you and I talked about. They will pat her down. So Sadie needs to be able to have another totally unknown person pat pat her down and rub her down or whatever, which she will totally be fine with. But I have to hold her face.
Yes.
I
So
have
she
to.
has to stay with you,
She
not
has to
be putting her head
exactly.
around or trying to play. She's
Yep.
working. Yeah.
So I gently just will hold her head and have her focus on me while this TSA person.
We should add a Sadie cam to this.
She's laid out right now. She also has to be able to lay under or at my feet on the plane. So we are able to potentially call the airline and ask for certain seating, like just behind first class in that first row where there's more room for her, or within that comfort area which we sit in comfort all the time anyway. So that would be great that she would have the extra room and that you and I are sitting side by side so that she's not infringing on somebody else. So she would technically lay underneath both of us.
Right.
She's not a very, very small dog. She's about 45 pounds. So those are the kinds of things that, we're going to be working on with Sadie. I have.
Although when we got her vest measured, there
Yeah.
was sizes 0 through 4, and she was a size 0.
Interesting.
Now there's miniature and there's other tiny small sizes, but she's on the small size of medium. She's
She
not
is.
quite a small dog, but she is a
Yeah.
medium dog, but on
Yeah.
the smaller size of that.
And so I ordered a vest off of Amazon. That's going back today because it did not fit her at all. And she let us know that she did not like that.
Now I'll tell you, the biggest thing I noticed from when we went to the bougie store and got one that was
Bougie
actually
pet store.
designed versus the Amazon one is the Amazon one went underneath her arm, where the one that's purpose built went under her belly and then across her chest, which gave her more freedom this way.
Yeah.
So it's probably more natural for her.
Right. And she didn't mind having it on. The other one, she was squirming and she just didn't want it on. So, your vest is something that, my opinion, you would want to invest in a really good one because that's what's going to let everybody know. Don't pet your dog. She's working, whatever. And so we have.
Plus, she's wearing it for a long period of time.
Yes,
so she has to be comfortable.
Exactly.
As well. Yeah.
So we have the Velcro stick-ons here. I also have this clicker here, and it's a target. So Sadie is going to be nudging my leg when I need help. So essentially giving her that command, and we're going to use this for her to use this as the touch and then shorten it as it goes. And every time she does what she's supposed to do, she gets a click and she gets a little treat.
She loves it. She's
super responsive. She's so smart.
She's looking at me right now saying, did I hear what I think I heard?
She's eyes are open.
Did I do something good? So also because we jumped into the role of the handler, right? We've jumped into what it is that you're going to be doing, the expectations, the training, which is awesome. You did have a question on here, though. I'm looking at our lineup. So I want to make sure we don't miss anything. Under the legal protections in ADA, you mentioned the 2 questions that they legally are allowed to ask. What happens if somebody asks you something different? What is your response? Right. Imagine you're going to pick up a carryout and you go into a restaurant, Sadie's there with you, and they say something to you that is not part of the guidelines.
Right. So kindness goes a long way. It is really important that you work on not allowing someone else's frustration or anger or yelling at you, whatever it might be, to get you into a state of feeling like you want to punch them or yell at them or curse them out or whatever. You don't have to show them any paperwork, but if you want the little card, you can make it yourself on Canva, have it laminated, and it has those ADA laws in it. You can show that to them. You can also just simply say, yes, Sadie is protected. I am protected through the ADA guidelines and whatever. You can do however you choose to say that. You can just remain calm. If they're still causing a scene, ask to speak to their manager.
Right.
Always ask to speak to the manager. They are only allowed to ask you 2 questions. Wherever you're going to lay your head, though, which be a hotel, Airbnb, whatever, I am going to offer them the letter, Sadie's letter. You don't have to do this, but just for me, this is where I'm sleeping. This is where we're staying, living, for 2 or 3 months.
Right.
And so I want to be able to offer them that letter. So that's just my opinion. But going to restaurants and things like that, Sadie's going to need to be able to come underneath the table, underneath my legs, and stay there for the duration. So you just quiet, peaceful, calm, and you just have those things available if you want to show them. You don't have to, though, but ask for the manager first and foremost. If you see that somebody says, no, you can't bring that dog in here. Well, under the American Disabilities Act, actually, I am legally allowed to bring her. She is my service dog. Yeah.
So coming from corporate America, I can definitely say that this was one of the required trainings. However, 95% of the people just skipped through it because it was just one of 72 things they had to get through.
Sure.
So it is something that is, at least with that particular company, it's supposed to have been educated on every single employee. But you will run into circumstances where people just don't
They
know.
just don't know.
And it's actually an opportunity to educate them. And like you said, when you take the approach of calm and, shedding some light on what and why without disclosing any health related information,
Absolutely.
you can help somebody else become more aware of what's happening, but also why.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal because some people just may not know. And although they're probably supposed to know, they'll know now.
Yeah. And so there's one thing is you are protected by HIPAA. So you do not have to reveal your medical condition at all, ever, to anybody. And then, the other thing is just remain calm. Really, that is probably the best advice I can hand out, because there are people that will come at you. Like even taking Sadie to the farmer's market here in Oakland County, they are very adamant about dogs not coming through there unless it's a service dog.
Beautiful.
Because there's food around, right? And Sadie does shed. So you want to make sure your dog is bathed and brushed really well before you take them out. So just really common sense things, I think, that you can do to be courteous as well.
Love that. Anything else we want to touch on before we wrap up?
No, I think that's about it. We're super excited for her. There's going to be a lot of work involved in getting her where we think she needs to be, which obviously we typically do go above and beyond, because safety is first and foremost, and then making sure that we're abiding by the laws and doing our due diligence to make sure she's really prepared and that society can handle Sadie when Sadie comes out. She's doing her best to be the service dog she's supposed to be.
Awesome. So next week, I want to touch on some apartment shopping expectations, but also, since there isn't really a solid, how do I put this, standard when it comes to real estate in Colombia, meaning there's not an MLS, there's not a place where you can just go to it's different. What's the best way to start shopping and looking for places? That's going to also have a little bit of information from a couple weeks ago from the 8th through the 10th about the expo that they held in Colombia, and some feedback from the folks that we know down there that were able to visit. So and then of course an update about Sadie and an update about business. But I really want to take a look at what does it look like navigating renting an apartment in Colombia.
Right, and we're going to be depending on 1 to 2 people to help us find that apartment, unless we want to go the Airbnb route, which is going to be 30% higher than what we would pay if we were paying local. So we're in a decision mode about that, which way we want to go.
A lot of factors. There's finance, but there's also what is going to be the most frictionless for us. Being a 3-month, 90-day trip. What are we willing to do, and what are some of the things that we want done for us? So we'll be making decisions, but there's multiple reasons for that. So
I'm looking forward.
You want to take us out?
Yeah. So I just can never remember this. I don't remember.
That's okay.
Horizons, looking beyond. This is terrible.
Just keep living.
This is a part of the issue that I have, though, is my memory. So, yeah. Terrible.
In all fairness, I have a computer in front of me. You used to keep a computer in front of you, but we changed our format a little bit. You probably noticed it's shorter, significantly shorter.
Yeah.
We wanted to just get hyper focused on what we're doing. So we kind of took your computer away, so you don't have your cheat sheet like you used to.
So until next time.
Yep.
Keep something, your horizon, expanding beyond the desk. Hey, folks, have an extraordinary week. We'll see you next time.